Pros are showing the way.
All right.
Explaining all the things to say. Giving
It is 6:02. I said it was going to start in 10 minutes. Nice. All right, welcome everybody. It is another episode of the podcast talking about the major, and we're going to go ahead and recap some of what happened at the wildcard and group stage, which we did kind of cover last time. Lyrical and Jenkins, and I believe we were pretty on point, right? Liquid, Vici Gaming, and LGD all moving through. I think that was kind of all our consensus.
Yeah, I thought that T1 might make it instead of Monaco, but yeah.
And nobody believed in AS Monaco Gambit. They did end up in the tiebreaker against Liquid, but ultimately they weren't able to pull through. And then we had our group stage, and our group stage, that's kind of what everyone's talking about right now. The group stage was very surprising because of one team in particular. Thunder Predator managed to start day one going 6-0, ultimately end top of the group after day two. South America being top of the group stage has never happened at any major LAN event that I can recall. Anybody? Like, this is undoubtedly the best result that they've had at the start of an event, right?
Okay. I gotta put this out there because I did not expect this. I said this on the podcast before. I still don't think anybody expected this. People can say that on Twitter, like everybody's going to be like, oh, they're going to be the dark horse of the tournament. You know, it's like the typical line. Like everybody always says that about who they thought is going to be the shittiest team in the tournament. Everybody thought they were going to be the shittiest because that's just like the rhetoric of, you know, this other than Beast Coast. It's like, Beast Coast is the only South America team that's going to like get top six or whatever.
It's
right?
a one-team region. Yeah.
It's like a one-team region. This is the rhetoric that we're fed in. I actually legitimately had to do some like real thinking about how I formulate opinions in general. I'm not even joking. Like I was legitimately like sitting in the shower, like fucking holding my head, the whole, freak out situation that you see in like movies or whatever. Like it actually happened because I'm like, man, the way that I construct my opinions is wrong. Like I basically realized, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I realized that I think the reason that I viewed Thunder Predator as the shittiest team in the tournament is because I'm so used to playing against them. Like I'm so used to playing with them in pubs. I'm so used to like they're human to me. You know what I mean? I play against them with them, and they feel human. They feel good. They're good Dota players, but they feel human. And then I look at EU across the pond, and it's like, we never play against these guys. These are big names. You know, the Miracles, the Kurokis, like these legends. And it's like, fuck, they must be superhuman. But look, Enigma, they're out. They're last place out of the teams that could actually make it. And it made me like literally, legitimately rethink the way that I'm formulating opinions in Dota. It can't be just based on pubs if I'm not like pubbing with all of these teams. And like the Quincy crew players, like they don't pub that much, right? It's just Quinn, and he's literally rank 1. So it's easy to think as like a pub player that they're good because the only person you're going to have experience with in pubs is Quinn. Whereas with like Thunder Predator, like they're playing all day, every day. You get them all the time. So they felt really human, but fuck, man, I'm proud of them. I mean, that's awesome. SA's like the brother to or sister team or whatever or sister region to NA. So it's great for all of us.
I kind of I'm of the same mind. Like I think on the podcast yesterday, I guess it was a couple days ago, we were talking about it, and I had said like, oh, what about Thunder Predator? And that was like anybody that says that they thought that this was going to be like the be all end all result is crazy. I didn't think it either. The reason I said that was because I was like, let's be nice guy and talk about them for a second. And then they come in and stomp everybody.
That's how it usually goes, honestly. Is like
exactly.
Let's give every team a chance because like, we're casters, and we look at each other, we look at the best of the best, and like that's like a thing that's like passed on through the generations. Right. It's like the guys that you're learning from casting or the girls you're learning from or whatever, they teach you like, don't shit on any team, like make it like you got to build the storylines, right? And it's
Right.
like, so everybody does that about Thunder Predator, but like nobody expected this. As much as people on Twitter are going to tell you that
Yeah,
they
some people are
expected
trying
this.
to act like they saw this coming, but no one saw it coming.
I
Man.
told you guys. I told all of you. I've been repping this team for years. I've been telling you guys they're legit all this time. I've been telling you over
Now-
and over and over. They never make that tweet when the second best in SA bottoms out of every single major. They
Now,
never
the
make
one-
that tweet. See, I was telling you guys they're legit. It just didn't happen this time. Like, nobody makes that tweet, you know? So,
It's true. The one thing that I will say is maybe we should have seen like a little bit, like that they would have done a little bit better, because we know that Beast Coast is good, and we know that like SA had gotten more competitive in the DPC. That's the only thing that I can say, is that like like you basically, I think that, all right, maybe there's another way to look at this. Some people say that like interregional stuff doesn't matter at all, and I think that's ridiculous. I think that interregional stuff does matter. And there's not a ghost behind me. My dog's just coming in. Don't worry about it.
I was
So
wondering about that.
the other thing that's going on is people say that interregional stuff doesn't matter. I don't think that's true at all. I think that you have two options to look at when a big team starts to get more competition within their region. One is that the whole region as a whole is getting worse, or two, the lesser teams are getting better. And there was this long period of time where, like, you know, SA was getting more close and more competitive with themselves. And I don't think anybody asked the question. Nobody really asked the question of what it is that's happening. Nobody was thinking about South America except for people that were watching it. So I think what we're seeing with Thunder Predator is what we're seeing across all the regions, that the skill gap between the top teams and then the lower angle teams is getting smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like players like Misery and stuff going over there. I know a lot of people were like pretty mad when it was like, you know, a full team of 5 players not from SA going over there. Probably didn't help the team too much, but even then, I think when that happened, slowly these players' ideas start to trickle into other teams. Even like the players that would play with, you know, say like Misery, when they start to mingle with other players, I'm sure those ideas carry on. I think slowly over time, SA has just grown a lot as a region. People don't think about it as much. It just, again, I always saw them as like the free slots for
Yeah.
whatever.
You're definitely right. Like I know there's a lot of shit that you've like taught me about Dota, and you'll literally be like, yeah, like Envy told me this, or like IX Mike told me this. IX Mike got it from like X player. Like that is generally how ideas in Dota are like passed along. Is that like, oh, this is like this person's like original concept or whatever, and then you know eventually it's like I know some knowledge that's like passed on from you know like Nico Baby or Koikfa or somebody who's like coaching BSJ, and then BSJ coaches me, and all of a sudden it's basically like Koikfa coach me, because these are just like ideas, right? And Dota's all about like a couple of like fundamental concepts that you can get right as a team, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're significantly better than every team in your region. Everybody has to study you, and then like every single team picks up that thing. So like it does happen. It's taken years, but you're definitely right. It does happen.
Yeah, I think it's really good that they got slots in general. Like people, I don't know, scoffed at the idea at first, right? But like that is what made people go there for the, again, like the free slots. But that started the whole movement, I think, personally, where everyone just started to get much better in SA. I mean, getting them in pubs, I love getting SA players, like the really good ones on top
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I think ultimately what people have viewed SA as is, and I think it's somewhat similar to certain other regions, is that like they are a region that no doubt has skill. It's just a question of being able to put together a roster that can actually represent. And the first roster to do that was Beast Coast. They were able to show up, obviously, at TI, and they've shown that they put on consistent performances by being able to get top 8 at majors as well after that TI. So, like, they did it first. Nobody was quite expecting, I think, the second best in SA to show up yet, just because it felt like the gap between Beast Coast and the others wasn't really closing all that much, right? Like Beast Coast still whomped on everybody when it came to the South American DPC, right? So if that's your measurement of like, okay, Beast Coast is this good, and like same goes with Quincy Crew and EG, right? It's like those teams are this good, therefore like everybody else that's behind them, okay, if nobody can touch them, then it's a 2-team region, right? But then this NA DPC we saw Undying actually showed up, managed to make a tiebreaker. For SA, wasn't quite there, right? Thunder Predator proved that they were definitely better than everybody else, but they couldn't quite really step up to Beast Coast consistently when Beast Coast is like on form. Obviously, for the last year, there have been times where Hector couldn't play or whatever, but it just seems like for the most part, Beast Coast has been like 2 steps ahead of most of the others in the region.
I don't like that rhetoric. Like I actually disagree with that. I think a lot of people on, like, once again on Twitter, you're seeing I think what is happening on Twitter with a lot of people being like very extreme about their, shit talking and their opinions and stuff is like, we've been shit on by Europe for so long, right? SA and NA together, like just lumped together. We're the same region realistically, like to a lot of people. And we've been like shit on for so long. And so I get why these like crazy extreme, maybe they're not extreme. Maybe I'm the one being extreme, but I feel like Beast Coast isn't that much better than Thunder Predator. Like people, the way that it's like being talked about right now is that if Beast Coast came into this tournament, that they'd be at the top of the groups. I don't think that's true. I think Thunder Predator is doing so well at this tournament that it's not just that, oh, they're the second best. They've maintained the same power level, and it's just that the second best in SA is above the power level of the other regions. Impossible. I believe that's impossible. And what's happening is that this is a team that clearly they're one of these really successful teams on LAN. Newsham and I literally like have experience with this ourselves, where when we basically shouldn't have gone to a tournament together on a team, it was like a really horrible team that we're literally like the sixth best in the region or whatever. And then we made it out of groups, and we did okay. We did okay, and way better than expected. And I think it was literally because the players we had, especially our mid player at the time, who was Shibby. Anybody who's like an old NA Dota fan will know him. Carried hard, so hard, like harder than he ever did online. And it's like when he got to the actual LAN, it's like something clicked. That all the pressure, it actually like benefited him in a way. Like he liked being the underdog. He liked the fact that people thought that we were shit and that they weren't going to research us and respect us. And I don't know. I feel like that's the SA mentality in general. It's like these guys are all weebs. Like they're watching animes, and that's like the anime thing, right? It's like, oh, you think I'm the underdog, and then I get super fucking powered and like destroy you, right? So I think like basically all I'm trying to say with this really stupid rant is that I think that Thunder Predator's power level has increased significantly. That if Beast Coast were here as well, I'd say that Thunder Predator would be beating Beast Coast on LAN. I genuinely believe that.
It's weird to like
close.
base things off of the regional qualifiers too, right? Because like maybe they're just Beast Coast just has their number because they play each other so much in the same region. So
that's true. Yeah.
Well, and Beast Coast, I mean, they lost a series to No Ping. No Ping took a game off of Thunder Predator. Like I think that it was clearly Beast Coast was the best in that, but it wasn't like they were immortal. If anything, I think that NA was more that way with like Quincy Crew, where it felt like, I mean, until the Undying thing happened. I don't know. Maybe it's like there's situations where the interregional stuff I think matters less and matters more, and we're not really going to know the extent of it. But to me, at least, I think that I would kind of feel like this is indicative more of the region. I think it's indicative of the fact that like we don't know when there's only regional play which region is the strongest, and people that make assumptions about which regions are the strongest probably don't know what they're talking about as much as they think that they do, or as much as they want to do. And this is mainly the Predators, right?
Because it's impossible. It's like it's not possible to compare because they're literally in different continents playing. And so to make the comparison is to say, well, I'm willing to make this comparison that's impossible. And so it just begs the question, like, okay, what other opinions do you hold that you're basing on impossible comparisons? You know what I mean? No, I totally agree. But man, I feel personally, I don't know about you guys, but like, I feel like I still slowly started to like believe it, just because it was said so much by so many people in Twitch chat and on Reddit and Twitter and everything, that I was like slowly starting to believe it more than I realized that I was, until Thunder Predator like slapped me in the face and proved to me like, dude, stop being such a little bitch. Basically, I want to I actually want to thank these guys for making me like reevaluate the way that I think.
NA traders, yeah.
But to be fair, I also think that we shouldn't read too much into the results, because it's just group stage and stuff like that.
I want to dial a lot of things back. I actually think that the idea that you can't judge regions when they're not playing against each other at all, like it's literally impossible, I think that's wrong. I think
agree.
that I think one of the biggest problems of this major is the fact that we essentially haven't seen any of the non-Chinese teams. We haven't seen for a month.
Right.
Some of their matches, their beginning matches, say a team started off poorly in the DPC. We haven't seen that. That's been 2 months ago, right? We've been basing all of this off of a tournament that ended a month ago and was a best of 3 against each of these teams, right? Thunder Predator versus Beast Coast was one best of 3. That's all that they
That's
played.
true.
I don't even remember when that was. I'm sure it was towards the end of the DPC, but like that was still over a month ago, right? And we've just had a month of nothing really happening. We don't really know like what we have no idea like scrim information, like some of those teams going in, what their experience was when they first got to the major and started playing against other teams who's been doing well. And then I would agree with Lyrical that like I do think we need to pump the brakes here just a little bit. Thunder Predator have definitely proven they're a solid team, and from given what I've seen anyway, I don't think they're doing anything that's like cheesy. I don't think they're like doing super unique strategies that's catching people off guard. I honestly think they're just playing good, solid, fundamental Dota that is
I agree.
like, you know, they just know how to play around each other, and they know how to protect a one position's farm. They know how to be able to protect their triangle. Like, I think they're just doing good, solid, fundamental stuff. But,
Right.
you know, Dota is a game of adaptation, right? And we still have like a long way to go when it comes to the tournament and like, where people are going to
Some of their games were won based off of like incredibly lucky things too, like Leo style, taking an Aegis, like snatching
Like
the Aegis
while he
to get-
dies, yeah.
Right.
while he was dying. So it's I mean, obviously that's the thing. You're totally right. I think it's just had a big impact on me because I realized that I was much wronger than other people were. I don't think that's like something that I should extend out to other people. That was something that was like more about for what I learned. And I totally agree with this sentiment that like, okay, let's wait until like the actual, you know, the actual like bracket starts playing out. I do think that still like nobody expected this group stage result, and that's still amazing. No matter how this goes, it's really great for them, no matter how this goes. But with that being said, I still don't think they're going to win the entire tournament. I think that's unrealistic, and they still have like a lot to prove for sure.
Right. I think that mainly to me, what this was in my reaction was aimed at like Redditors that say that like it's just going to be Europe and China playing against each other.
Yeah.
And then maybe like, you know, one team from each other region or something like that. And I think that the biggest thing that we're seeing online and Twitter right now, the biggest thing we're seeing on Reddit and like people's reactions to this stuff is overreactions to overreactions to overreactions. It's people that are like trying to plant their stake in the ground and saying like my region is the best and everybody else is garbage, and then people reacting to that and like how dare you come and try and come at us. Like that's really what's going on right now. And the reality is probably we're all a little bad because we haven't had interregional Dota 2 in a while.
Yeah, everyone has their regional pride, and it's really showing right now. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, literally, like when it comes to this sort of thing, the Chinese scene is so isolated, right? Because they're all speaking Chinese, they're all on Chinese forums and stuff like that. So we're not getting their side of the things. We're just literally hearing from every other region argue about how they're the best. Meanwhile, China's over there. They got their 2 teams out of wildcard. Those same 2 teams ended up going into the upper bracket. So we now have 3 Chinese teams in the upper bracket. The other Chinese team also did not get eliminated. So like everyone's arguing about like, we're the best. No, you guys suck. We're going to come back in playoffs. And meanwhile, China's sitting there go like, we've got 4 teams in playoffs and 3 in upper bracket.
Please.
You guys go
We
ahead and
don't
argue
exist,
amongst
guys.
yourselves.
Let the idiots fight it out. Yeah, that's like the PUBG style. Let the idiots fight. Just hide in a bush somewhere.
And I'll say I'm also like, you know, responsible for this myself. I was getting pissed off also, and you know, it sort of feed into the energy behind it, because you see things that just like, you know, you see talent, you see people playing well, and then it's like, oh no, that's ridiculous. When it comes to the main thing, it's not gonna happen. And you know, I felt the same way of like vindication. You know, I was letting Jack speak through me. Jack has lost his mind in the last couple of days. He's going into like these sort of active Reddit thread comment things and like finding somebody that has like, you know, 2 karma and just like writing a diatribe against them, just breaking this person's soul. It's unbelievable. So he's kind of I think he's taken even more of a hardline stance than PPD has in the last little bit. Jack's lost his mind.
Speaking of Jack, Jack has definitely taken much pleasure in the flip side of the coin, where there are winners, there are also losers, and Europe has been suffering a bit when it comes to this tournament. Nigma bounced out of the wild card first, somewhat expected because they had a stand-in. Liquid barely managed to make it through off of a tiebreaker, but now we get into the group stage, and Alliance were the ones who suffer heavily, as they were actually second in the European DPC, and they end up getting eliminated with a score of 4-10. In fact, it was one of the final series was of the group stage was Liquid versus Alliance for elimination. Basically, if Liquid lost both of those games, then they would end up in a tiebreaker against Alliance and have to play elimination. Fortunately, they went 1-1, so they saved having to play yet another tiebreaker. But it goes to show, like, Europe kind of suffering so far at this tournament, like pretty badly. Unless the Liquid's going to make a long run and like Secret dominates the tournament, so far the story is Europe's definitely weaker than people expected.
I think Liquid will make a long run, man. I gotta say, like, I watch a lot of their games, you know, I just happen to, and I feel like, once again, like, I watched the Thunder Predator game, they were winning, and then Leo Style just like steals the Aegis 1v5 and then dies, and then Liquid completely missed their timing because they had some Lycan Death Prophet shit, and they just lost late game like off of that. I actually watched Jarek's break that one down, and that's basically what he said. And Liquid 1-1 like every single series, so their score looks kind of bad, but they 1-1 everybody, so it's like they're capable of beating everybody other than Vici. They're
just so unique. I love how they just swap roles
and they're crazy
whenever they feel like it. It's crazy, yeah.
So I think they're I don't think Liquid's like a team to forget about for any of these teams. I think Liquid's still really scary and could, place top 3 quite easily because they've beaten everybody.
The scary thing for Liquid is that the matchup that they're going to have, if depending upon what happens later on today, is going to be one of Virtus Pro one of Vici or IG, which I think is a pretty powerful combo. And if I remember right, it was against, who was it that Liquid lost to? You just said it, didn't you?
Liquid lost to Neon as well as Thunder Predator.
They lost to Neon? Oh yeah, they did. Right.
Yes.
But they 2-0'd Vici. Okay, so maybe that is actually a better matchup for them. But that's something to watch for as well. I believe in Liquid. I think that team is, I think, pretty good at adjusting and making changes when they need to. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing this tournament, because there's such a quick turnaround that happens. You come in with your own ideas of what you want to play. Those ideas are either like reconfirmed in your head or they're completely shattered. And you have to like go back to basics and figure something out. And it's only one day. There's no break days here. So it's kind of like this crazy gauntlet. And for a lot of these teams, they had to play 4 series yesterday. Now they're going to have to go in and try and figure out what they want to do in their new matchup that they're going to have. So I'm looking at this and seeing like the teams that adjust the most quickly are probably going to be the ones that are most successful.
Man, I'm so excited for actual elimination matches. I'm so sick of these best of 2s.
I
don't know, maybe they're good, but they dropped one game. It's like, dude, I want to see someone get eliminated.
Yeah.
I want to see all the glory, all the pain. I want to see it.
I'm with you there. I'm with you, dude. It's been so long because we've been waiting for the whole season too, right? It's like everything's
the season's just group stage. It's like, come on,
division.
please, someone get eliminated.
Please give me a bracket, for God's sakes. Finally.
To wrap up the group stage, we just have one more story to talk about, and that is Neon, because I think they're a really interesting story just because everybody was looking at them as the team to get eliminated from the group stage initially because they had a rough day 1. They're also another team that had a stand-in, and apparently things are actually a little bit more interesting on that team. Playhard and Skem were originally kind of going back and forth on 3 and 4 position, and it seemed like Playhard was not that comfortable on 3, and they had been kind of changing it up, putting Skem on the off lane. Then they have a stand-in. Skem has to play safe lane, Playhard's back onto the 3 position, and they have a stand-in in Rappy, and it just did not look good for them whatsoever. They were all over the place. Day 2 comes around. Apparently, Rappy ends up getting exposed to somebody with COVID. He has to quarantine. They get a stand-in in Death, who is an actual offlaner. Playhard's able to then play the 4 position, which he looks fantastic in. He looks way better as a 4 position than a 3. And all of a sudden, boom, Neon is out there. They go on a serious run. They end up beating Liquid. They end up going 1-1 with Alliance and 1-1 with Thunder Predator as well. So like a very solid day 2 that allows them to be able to escape elimination.
They played Carry Nature's Prophet twice as well.
Yes.
Very cool.
That's Skim's go-to. He's a baller with that.
Love it.
I think that so Death's somebody that he actually I think played briefly on Complexity as well, on like a trial basis.
He did, yeah.
And I think that he's gone around. He's done a lot of good stuff. The Neon thing to me is one where I think this is a team that like had so much potential coming into it, and the switch up that they needed of just getting back to basics. It's been able to show the team doing what I think everybody kind of had an idea they were capable of doing before. This to me is far closer to like the Neon that we saw in the SEA things. I got to watch like a couple of their games and they actually looked really solid there. So I mean, still a stand-in playing with it. But to me, at least, like when you compare this type of a stand-in to like what Nigma had, where RMN comes in and he's playing the 3 position, it just feels like worlds different. It's like it's still weird and it's still awkward and they need things to work on, but like at the very least they're actually like playing Dota, which is nice.
Yeah.
I think
Playhard's a baller 4-player, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I
shout
think
out
one
to Death
thing-
as well. Coming in and standing, I think like one of his first games, he went godlike on Lycan. Even they actually lost that game, I
Yeah.
believe, but like he showed up in a big way for them.
Yeah,
It's-
he had a
it's-
nice temper saw
it's-
game too.
it's really weird to me because like Liquid is this team that, like Newsham was saying, they're like famous for this role swapping shenanigans that they do. And if there's anything that this tournament has definitely proven to me so far, it's that playing with a stand-in that is not in the correct role, it can be just one of the worst, most awful things in Dota and make a team look like complete dog shit. Other than Liquid seems to be the exception to that. Obviously, they don't have a stand-in, so that helps. But it really looks like if you're not a 4-player and you're playing 4, you're really knocking off a lot of points from a team's power level, very likely. Which I don't know. I feel like that makes sense in the current patch. I don't feel like the roles are all that similar in general in Dota right now. It seems like the roles are pretty far apart. What they do. If you guys agree.
Yeah, I
I'd
would
say
say
so.
so. Liquid especially is a weird team just because they seem to put a value on the ceiling, the what could happen. They play to like the highest potential, you know? Like they don't care about the easiest execution. They care about like what could be possible because they believe they can actually execute that. They believe that Enigma isn't countered by Rubik, say, just because they think they can mess up that Rubik guy. You know, like somebody else will interfere on that person. Like that idea of Dota is like can be naturally inconsistent, right? Because it just means that you require everybody to actually be on their A game, which this tournament especially is something that's going to be a little hard to expect just because of all of the side stuff that's going on, right? But
All the stand-ins, yeah.
all the stand-ins that are happening. We're not going to talk about every single team. Acer and Quincy Crew also have stand-ins, but because I do think it's a little bit overkill, and we got to talk about the playoffs because
Right.
I went to sleep last night. I woke up this morning. First thing I see, Thunder Predator versus Secret. This was a random draw. Is that correct?
So I saw it on live on the stream. I stayed up for a
Okay.
little bit to watch it. Gods held out a red hat, and Lizard pulled the names out of that hat. And Lizard tried to take the hat away so Gods would have to pull some names, and Gods held on to that hat. So this is all on Lizard. That's Gods pulled a pro talent move and knew to avoid the wrath of the fans.
Okay, so Lizard is the one who ended up drawing Thunder Predator versus Secret,
Yes.
huh?
Exactly.
Oof. I mean, that is something that we've been kind of talking about. The fact that there is just a lot of. You can play a lot of Dota here, and there are no benefits to some of it, right?
Mhm.
There are no benefits to placing anywhere below top 8, for example. Even if you make it into the playoffs, you can still go home with no money, no DPC points. Another thing is there's no benefit to actually being top of the group stage because there's no fair way, basically, to be able to mix that out. If you let the top of the group pick, if you let those 3 teams pick, then it just naturally means you're going to have the quote-unquote 2 strongest teams match up against each other because nobody wants to play them, right? So there's just no fair way to do this, but it does, I think, mean that the format does kind of need to change because what the hell?
Right.
Yeah, their reward for doing so well in the group stage is here's Team Secret.
Is it unethical to let's say they could know? Would it be unethical to throw in order to not be top of groups to not play against Team Secret? I mean, I guess there's no way to know, so
Well, though
it's a
they
stupid
wouldn't have
question.
known. Yeah. So
But
the way that they did it was that they put them in order of when are they going to play. So they organized the seeds and then they gave them like I guess the time that they were going to play or something like that. I don't know what it is, but that's technically what it was that the 3 teams were in there and they were only drawing the direct ones, the people that were in through the DPC.
Jeez.
So it wasn't like it was all random, but it was like all random in a different way.
Unfortunate. I mean, I don't know what the solution is, but very unfortunate. That's all.
Yeah.
Like everybody thinks Secret's the best team, but there's no way of like actually putting some like numbers on that. I guess like prior premier tournament wins or something, you just decide who like the best teams are based on. But then it's like, oh, well, EG hasn't been playing as a roster, so how could you possibly say that Secret is better than EG when we haven't seen EG?
Well,
so,
we can say that. We can say Secret's better than EG.
Well, we can say it, yeah.
I mean, the problem isn't Secret; it's the other teams. It's how do you rank like EG versus Fnatic versus IG versus Virtus Pro? I still think you'd probably put Virtus Pro ahead, but I'm not sure. I mean, the middle ground is where that rankings gets a little dicey, I think.
Maybe they should have done some like community poll or like poll the casters or analysts or something for like what teams they think are the best to like rank them, and then
dude, hell no, that's terrible. What are you talking
I mean, it's
about?
it's like yeah, it's terrible, but like this is terrible too, right? So it's like pick your poison, you know. Do you want?
I would like to remind
leader...
you that Febby won MVP of ESL 1.
Okay.
I remember that.
I'm not sure if Dota's ever gonna go back.
I'm just sure there's some way to
maybe
rank
the community
this.
shouldn't decide things.
Yeah.
There's some way to rank this. I don't know. There's some way.
Anyway, here's the full playoff stage. It is Evil Geniuses versus Fnatic, IG versus Vici Gaming, Thunder Predator versus Secret, which we've already talked about, and then Virtus Pro versus PSG LGD. So, Gabe, you were saying that basically, did these teams get to choose what time they played? Basically,
I don't know exactly how it happened, but basically what they were saying was that there were the first game of the day was going to be the 2 teams that were through the regular thing, and then the rest of them were going to be like ordered by time or something. I'm not really sure how that system worked out, but there was some type of ordering there where it was like, okay, and then the next one is going to be against Vici, and I don't know how that was decided exactly, but it was decided. But it doesn't make sense to me because like Vici was last, and then LGD was second, and then Thunder Predator, but Thunder Predator's playing in the middle. So I guess the only thing that makes sense to me is maybe they did get to choose what time they played, but I'm not sure.
And then it just, I'm suppose the bottom part of the bracket was also random, which, you know, may not be like super interesting, but one thing that stood out to me is the loser of EG versus Fnatic is going to have to play against Neon. So once again, this has gone on. Just whatever reason, Southeast Asia has terrible luck when it comes to this. Southeast Asian teams always match up against each other when it comes to playoffs at majors and stuff. I don't know how it keeps happening, but like there have been so many times where C versus C ends up happening for elimination or something like that. So that may end up happening again, all depending on how Evil Geniuses ends up faring against the number 1 C team. So you guys have any like early predictions now that you see how the playoff bracket is breaking down?
Nothing bold. I mean, nothing like I think.
So nobody's going to back Thunder Predator against Secret.
God, I really want to.
I want to be
really
right.
want
I want
to.
to be right about something crazy, but I don't like even even with my change of thoughts and my change of heart, I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, it's
I actually want them to beat Secret, not as much for Thunder Predator as much as I just don't want to see Secret just beat everyone again. It's so boring when that happens.
So here's
people
the thing.
didn't like that I called that secret boring. I totally agree. I feel like watching secret just
boring.
like stomp on people is no fun. Like there's no challenge. There's no like crazy black hole. Like Zai doesn't need to hit a crazy black hole because they're just winning. You know?
So
Yeah.
here's the thing, right? Secret, they haven't been scrimming with that many teams. They mainly been scrimming with a couple of people. They build these ideas in their head of what's good Dota. And maybe that's the same idea that Virtus Pro has been having. And then you look at the CIS performances throughout this season, throughout this game, and they're not doing too well. And Thunder Predator's looking really hot, and Secret's coming in rusty. They're flying across the world. Maybe there's some jet lag going on. Like there's all these pieces that are building for it to be the perfect storm. It's Secret against SA teams at a major. Like we've all seen these stories before. So like if there was ever a time when you would take a team to take down Secret like this, I think it would be right now. Which makes me really want to take it. And so I'm gonna say 2-1 over them.
Wasn't there a major where I think SG or someone like that
it was
beat?
Kiev.
Yeah, dude. I hope it's a repeat. That'd be awesome. I want SA to get their time.
My head says no, but my heart says yes. That's what I'm
Yeah.
going with. This is a heart read, a soul read right here.
Let me see if I can sway anybody else here and maybe get some brains to say yes here. We have already talked about this theory a couple times, right? The team that goes through the wild card is going to do well in the group stage. Why? Because, well, for a couple reasons. They've proven themselves. They've managed to play a lot more Dota. They've been there at the start of the major, whereas the group stage teams flew in later, and in so the playoff teams flew in even later, right? So the playoff teams are much colder. All they've had to do is get a couple of days of scrims. I believe they've only had like 1 or 2 days potentially of scrims. They haven't been able to, I'm sure they actually missed quite a number of officials and just flying, because I think they flew kind of in the middle of the tournament, somewhere around the wild card stage. So it's like, in turn, the group stage teams have even more momentum. Sure enough, 2 of them are wild card teams that move forward. These teams, they've been playing a lot of Dota. They know what they're about at this point. They have felt out. They have played more games at this point. The wildcard teams have played more games than Secret played the entire European DPC.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. So you're telling me Secret flew out like halfway through? So they weren't there for like the wild card then.
The way that they had teams coming into Singapore, because there was limited space, time, computers, whatever, they had the wild card teams coming in first because they're the first to play, right?
I see.
They have you quarantine, then you get to be able to play in the playrooms, scrim against each other. Group stage teams come later, playoff teams come last.
Huh.
Oh wait, are you telling me that Secret is playing in the rooms that already eliminated people? Dude, there's some bad juju in those rooms. Secret are going out.
I doubt that. I'm sure they had their own room and everything. It's just they came in later. That's all.
I mean, okay. I legit think like if Secret is like just flying in and they only have like a few days to get set up in like this weird hotel room they're not used to, and the internet and the ping and playing around all their, I mean, it's Secret, so I'm sure they're all very experienced or whatever, playing on some new environment. But I don't know. I can tell you, I mean, I'm a little baby when it comes to like playing on different peripherals and a different, even Newsham was complaining to me the other day that his monitor was facing the wrong direction, so he was playing worse, and he wanted to freaking.
Why was it? Yeah. Did you have to do a 180? Like, I'm confused.
No, I turn my monitor so we can watch shows sometimes, and sometimes I don't turn it back quite all the way, and I don't realize until I'm already playing, and I'll miss a spell, and it's like, oh.
My depth perception.
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't joking though. It's like
I was not joking.
He's like, dude, we need to play on ranked right now. I can't play.
Great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a thing. I mean, like at this level of Team Secret, it's everything's impulse. Everything's like, so I totally agree. I think if like there's no way that like Neon, for example, has been playing all this time. Like Neon is like they're ready to go, man. Like it's like they're playing from their bedrooms at home, at this point after playing this many games, and that's not going to be true for Secret. So we might actually see, depending on when they arrived, that could bode pretty poorly for the playoff teams. I actually do agree with that. I don't think poorly enough to say 2-1 Thunder Predator, but maybe like maybe like a 2-1 secret. Maybe Thunder Predator has like a couple of close games, takes one.
All right, so not enough to sway anybody. What about Evil Geniuses versus Fnatic?
Well, no, you did sway me on Thunder Predator, but yeah, I guess that's
Okay.
the only one. I think that EG takes this. I've been watching a lot of their games. I think that they're good. I mean, I think Fnatic is also really good. The Abed versus Moon show is going to be amazing. If there's anything y'all tune in for that one's going to be really hype. And Jabs is a monster too. But I'm believing in EG this time.
There's a good amount of history between EG and Fnatic players. Ice and Abed, obviously. I think EG will win, personally.
And there's one more. I think there's an interesting note for Fnatic because they have Masoros, right? And I don't believe that he has ever played at a LAN event before. Maybe some small like Southeast Asian LANs or something like that, but he's, I believe, never played at a major or anything like that. He's a relatively new, young and up and coming player. He's only played for Trust Gaming before this, so it'll be interesting to see how he shows up. I mean, there are plenty of players who play a lot better from home than they do at LAN events. That is a very real factor when it comes to esports.
Sunby versus Bulba coaches, huh?
It really is, dude. That's a
Okay.
classic NA battle right there. So one thing I do want to mention, somebody said in chat, Rise Up 12 said RTZ, IO, and TB incoming, and so that is actually something that I think is really important. Is that like the meta has completely evolved. Like we're seeing these like support Lunas and like everybody's taking this IO carry thing seriously. It's not just this like random pub thing like European IO spammers are doing at this point, and like only RTZ is doing it in NA or whatever. I actually think this meta really favors EG. I don't know. Maybe this is my like NA bias here and just wanting them to win, but like Puck is the most picked hero in this tournament, and I think Abed is like, I mean, the guy's just absolutely insane on Puck. He was the first person in DPC that I saw play it where it's like, okay, this hero just is still broken. I see, and he will like innovated this like Witch's Blade first thing. So Arteezy also like TB is a huge pickup right now that people are picking as like the carry to basically like out carry every single other carry in the pool, and that's incredibly strong. And then also he did innovate the IO thing, at least from what I've seen in NA. I know he was like the only one playing it, and everybody played it because he did. And this totally ignoring like Ice, their like crazy offlaner, but I feel like a lot will be dependent for these playoff teams, these like invited directly to playoff teams, based on how the meta has changed since they haven't played. And like Cap was saying, like Thunder Predator and Beast Coast, like for example, haven't played for a month prior to this tournament. So like the meta has shifted so much in terms of heroes. Like that arguably is going to matter the most. Is like who's just more comfortable with the new OP heroes.
Okay, let's touch on that then. Meta for this tournament, like what do you guys think has been like? Obviously we know certain heroes are winning really well. I know Puck is one of the best heroes, is most picked. He's got over 55% win rate. That's crazy for being one of the most picked heroes. I know like certain heroes like ET and Terrorblade
Timbersaw
picked up
as
a
well.
little bit less, but like extremely high win rate. We know some hero win rates, but in general, what is this meta about? What do you guys feel like has been successful?
I've seen some amount of 4 Protect 1 working on occasion. It's weird because it's something that and again, this gets back to the point of why this could be a good tournament for EG. Pretty much saw it from them a couple of times, and from Quincy Crew, where they have 4 heroes out around the map making space, making things happen, and then just one guy's off farming on the other side getting his free space. And Kataro's been doing that a couple of times. We've seen a couple anti-mage picks as well, a Naga Siren or two. It feels like that's at least one way to play Dota that works. And these like early 20-minute pushes where you're like trying to mess around with high ground, I don't think that they've worked that well. That we've kind of seen from some of the European teams. I'm trying to remember who else that was sort of doing that stuff, but
Liquid, for example,
Liquid
like
does.
their Venomancer idea that they started off with the wild card, I think started kind of falling apart because teams just realized that lanes were really important and protecting their towers were really important. If you don't give that team the momentum of the side lane towers and the map starts getting small, then their lineup does start seeming to run out of steam. Yeah.
it looks good and then it loses. That's from what I've seen, where like it looks really good. One fight goes a little poorly, all of a sudden you lose momentum. Your Lycan looks like a bitch. Your Lycan looks like a position 5. It's not so good.
I've been really liking a lot of these heroes that don't really need specific item timings. Well, not like carries, but like supports and stuff. Like I'll give an example, like Pango or Phoenix, where like they just kind of press R. It doesn't really matter what items they have. They're gonna like find impact. I think their win rates have been really good. Tusk is another good example.
Necro Tusk, yeah, that shit is so good.
Right.
That's a European classic.
And this might say why, say, Quincy Crew and Thunder Predator are both doing quite well. And then on top of that, how China's doing quite well. I feel like this meta has actually been, as Gabe said, it seems like 4 Protect 1 is pretty good. Actually having a hard carry is good. Yeah. Like Terrorblade is extremely good right now. We've seen Thunder Predator do very well with Wraith King, for example. But the other 4 is active, and they're fighting. And then the other part of it is I mean, we're listing out these heroes: Phoenix, Enigma, Pango. That's all team fight, right?
Yeah.
That is big team fight, which is classically China's territory. Like that is usually what China is best at is 5-man and their team fight potential. That is why, like, you know, the old like LGD high ground defense was legendary because they always had, you know, Enigma or Tidehunter, and they were so good at being able to defend high ground off of those abilities. You know, so if the meta is about those two things, it does explain why the Americas and why China is maybe overperforming over Europe.
Yeah, we do play to just 1v5 with some big team fight guy because we assume our teammates are bad. That is true. We do that for sure.
And as a support player like myself, you have to like kind of pick those heroes where like you just have to assume you won't get farmed because everyone else is going to be taking it, and you just like, or Phoenix, you just press R anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so in that case, unless something, you know, we still have yet to see basically the quote-unquote best teams come in. We're going to see, you know, how the meta changes from there. Everybody else may think they have an idea, and all of a sudden Secret or Virtus Pro is going to set the meta. That could be entirely possible, but for right now, it seems like that is kind of our understanding of what's good. So I guess we're just going to have to wait to see today. Because I think in about 10 minutes, we've got Evil Geniuses versus Fnatic kicking off. So unless there's anything else that you guys really want to talk about right now, I feel like we covered a good amount.
I think we're good.
What do we have to get for NA and SA to get a slot each? What position do we have to get in this damn tournament?
Ooh.
I would say Evil Geniuses. So I think you can't lump them in together. All right. I'm gonna actually, let me say one thing. All right.
Let's unlump them right now.
NA is showing an awful lot of solidarity with South America right now. You know,
wasn't the case before.
Oh, our bros, South America.
That's bullshit.
You know,
no, bullshit.
No, yeah.
Bullshit. I've done that. Nobody else fucking does. I've done that. Nobody else does. Look at Omega League. I shit on BSJ when he said that. Okay. Everybody else, not me. Keep going.
I'm just saying, I see a lot of players, a lot of like former players, a lot of talent, perhaps, all repping SA, being from NA and saying like, "Hey, look how good we're doing." And I feel like South America is going over there, like, "What do you mean we?" Like,
I'm so glad you're calling this out because I've been saying that so much and thinking the same thing. It's like, what happened to you guys saying you hate South Americans and all this, like in your pubs, like I don't know, a week ago. I don't know. Where it's like, yeah, that's us.
You know I have not been doing that. We called out a specific person, I'm not going to name names, Newsham, for doing that, for saying, oh, I don't like these South American players to play on their server or whatever. And we were talking about how bullshit that is and how stupid that person is. Not going to call anybody out.
Yeah.
His name does rhyme with something, a caster's name. He's not a caster, but, you know, I'm not going to I'll put that out there. Anybody wants to figure it out. Anyway. Whether or not we want it to be true, they are our brothers, they are our sisters.
Yes,
that's it's like maybe step family or something. I don't know, but we're stuck together because people lump us together.
We are bound together in the same toxic server. US East is what is the bind that keeps us together. Okay, so in North America, what do we have to do in order to get another slot? I would say EG and Quincy Crew. I don't think the one major is ever going to do it. I think you have to actually. I think you have to go all the way full past TI, but I'm going to say like both of our two teams securing an invite to TEI by itself, and our third team doing well at TI.
So you don't think the next major has any chance, no matter what the result?
I would say almost no chance whatsoever that the
Okay.
format is
Even if they
gonna
got top
change.
2 somehow.
What if we're top 3? If it's like EG, Quincy, Thunder, or
Alright,
something
dude,
like
we're
that.
living in the
I
world
think
here.
you need. I
Oh,
think
dude, come on.
If you are Valve, you need
Standard.
data, right? And having
Hypothetically.
one tournament where a region does really well isn't enough to be able to dramatically change things. I feel like
Right.
you need 2 tournaments. In which case, that means those teams, that whatever region does that, those teams will automatically be invited to TI, so that region will get another slot, right? Because every slot will get 1 extra qualifier, basically, right? Every region will have 1 extra team outside of the teams that have already qualified via points.
So what do you think then about expanding the wild card as another alternative to this?
I like that. That's a good idea. They should do that. Anyone else?
I mean, I'm just gonna say that we already have 18 teams going to a
Yeah.
major. That's an awful lot. Do you,
Yeah.
You don't think 20 is too much?
okay,
Is
so
that
you're,
what I'm hearing?
so we're gonna have 20, and then what? Half of those teams move on, and then instead of 2 teams eliminated out of the group stage, we'd have 4 teams get eliminated out of a gigantic group stage. It would be a large group
And they get
stage.
nothing for the group stage. It always feels really bad, man, when
I'm
people
not
go
a
to events
bracket
and get
person.
nothing.
I'm not a bracket person, but I mean,
Yeah.
so I guess the other side of this too is that like you sort of can make the argument like what is the value of these teams going to these big events? And I think that there is value in it, but then the question becomes like, you know, what's the value to the teams themselves, and then what's the value to the tournament? I think the value to the tournament is that you get the best teams possible playing there, and the question is like, how much value does that provide to the tournament? Is it a lot or is it a little? And I mean, I guess that's sort of a question that I think other people other than us need to answer.
Well,
I
I'll
think
step
it's
in and
inarguable.
answer it. I feel
Okay.
like judging from the experience from tournament organizers and like how people view tournaments, I don't think what is good for the tournament, anything but that happens before playoffs doesn't matter in that
Okay.
regard, right? Whether it becomes production problems, whether it becomes how the stream is handled, whether it becomes what teams are there, anything that happens before the playoffs is more for competitive integrity than it is for viewership numbers, whether it is for like everything that a tournament organizer cares about is what happens for playoffs, because that's usually when the stadium opens. That's usually like the where you're going to reach the highest numbers. That's where what you're going to be sending your sponsors is going to be like, hey, this is what our playoffs look like. This is what happened. I feel like everything that happens beforehand is in competitive integrity. So I don't think expanding the wild card adds anything for a tournament.
But the competitive integrity argument, I think, is worth talking about at least. And I know we got to go soon, but the one thing that I'd say about it is that we have a situation, I think, where there are more good teams than there are spots available in majors. And I don't know how to resolve that issue necessarily. At least that's the way it seems like from the results that we're seeing here. And the like, if you're naturally getting all these regions better, that's going to happen over time if people are just getting better at Dota. So I don't
Good
know.
problem to have, I guess. I mean, like I can say I don't know how you guys are feeling about Dota in general, but I'm feeling really good about the game. I'm feeling really good about the viewership numbers at the major, and I don't know, things are super fucking hype, and I'm I don't know, I'm just happy. I'm happy with how it's going so far, even though there are issues obviously that need to be resolved. I still feel as a Dota player that I'm not getting the last year has been kind of tough with, you know, no before pre-DPC and stuff. I'm glad with at least like for a first round, this is how our season is progressing, and this is the finale of it. It's like, this is cool. This is a good first season.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of when majors first got announced, right? With like the, I don't know, OG's Rise. Reminds me a lot of that. It's like getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah,
It's all the anime.
it is. It really is. He's right.
All right. Well, we got 4 minutes until Evil Geniuses versus Fnatic comes up, so let's go ahead and bring it to a close here. Thank you to Jenkins, Newsham, and Lyrical for joining me. Let's start with you, Jenkins, and work our way clockwise. You got anything? Are you going to shout out BSJ again?
Shout outs to Henry Raw Dota. Check him out at rawdota at youtube.com. He's one of my favorite broadcasters currently in the scene, and go check him out.
I'm going to ignore that last comment. Newsham?
I got nothing. The only guy I'd shout out is already here.
All right, you could go ahead and follow
Lyrical.
Newsham on his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ is it J Newsham?
Yeah, it's Jay Newsham.
J Newsham. All right, I'll do the shout out for you. Lyrical, you got anything?
Shout out to Marcy. Let's go. That's all I got. Let's do it.
And it may.
All right, Marcy, Dota's favorite girl. That is it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I am going to bring the podcast here to a close. I'll put the VOD up on YouTube, but I also have to turn off the stream, turn on a 10-minute delay, and turn it back on. We are going to be covering the major here. I'm going to have a bunch of people, such as these fine gentlemen and a bunch of other people who are going to be joining me, watching the games together and talking about them. If you want to watch that, stick here. It'll be back in 10 minutes.